Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/reallife. That's GOBBLE.com/real-life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, you running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own 2 eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today, y'all, we're beginning season 14 of Real Life, Real Crime. And it's a very important story I want to retell today, tell it from a different angle. I want to kick this case into high gear, and I'll explain it to you as we go. But first of all, I want to welcome all you new lifers from around the world. We have millions of more listeners since we hit number 1. And also we're featured in Apple Podcasts new and noteworthy section this week. So welcome everybody that's here for the first time. And, you know, we love and appreciate each and every one of you. Patreon and Convex, love and appreciate y'all. And stay tuned at the end of the story, today's story, for some more real life, real crime announcements. Now, I will tell you, I was a detective for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office for a long time.
And on November 2007, I left to go be a criminal investigator for the Louisiana State Police. And I'm almost, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 6 months and 1 day after I was gone from the sheriff's office. I got home from the state police that evening, and I turned on the news like I always did. And this is a story that I saw.
They came by the hundreds.
And walk all the way through there, arm in arm, to her house and right around her house.
They came in all forms.
Standing there on horses and four-wheelers. People waiting.
Anyone and everyone concerned about Barbara Blount came to find her.
The kids are out looking, brothers, sisters, brother-in-laws, everybody.
Friends and family say Barbara was a Sunday school teacher, a widow that lived alone, and the last person anyone would want to harm.
I've never known her to ever cross words with anybody. Everybody knows that she wouldn't hurt nobody. Everybody got along with her. Can't understand it.
The last time someone spoke with Barbara was around noon Friday. Family members say she told a neighbor she was going to clean up in her kitchen. Later that afternoon, her silver 2006 Toyota Camry was found partially hidden and abandoned here on this logging road, not even a mile from her home.
This is totally inconsistent with her lifestyle, her activity, not to be seen or heard from like this for almost 24 hours.
The search party started looking Friday evening, but with Saturday night's heavy rain, the woods have anywhere from 5 to 6 feet of water, making their mission even more difficult.
We're doing all we can. We're not going to give up. Water or no water, we're not giving up. We had an incident a while ago where a man was on horseback. The horse started swimming, the water was so deep.
Friends and family have led detectives to believe Barbara was taken from her home against her will. Her nephew tells 9 News she was a tough lady who raised cattle alone and would not open her doors to just anyone, which just adds to the mystery this family faces now, a mystery about a woman they never thought would be in danger.
Unreal. It's unreal. It don't hit. You don't think it hits at your home until it happens.
Now we would like to show you a picture of Barbara Blount again. Now there she is. Barbara is 58, 5'7", with dark brown hair and hazel eyes. She also wears glasses. Now the car that was found abandoned was her silver 2006 Toyota Camry. If you have any information or have seen Barbara or someone driving that vehicle, please call Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP. And remember that call is anonymous. Cheryl?
I get home and I'm watching that on the news. I'm like, holy smokes. First of all, I knew the area. It's very rural. I used to patrol that back in the day, and that's my sheriff's office, right? And so everybody that was out there looking, all the people they showed on the news, I knew them all. And now at the time, Willie Graves was the sheriff for Livingston Parish, okay? And the chief of operations, or the chief deputy, was Jason R., another dear friend of mine, right? We came up through the ranks together, and Willie had been my sheriff, and I knew every one of the detectives. You know, these are the people that I worked with, y'all, and I know there's some of the finest detectives in the world. So I'm thinking, going to be a murder, they're going to find her, going to find something, but as you'll hear, everything in Miss Barbara's case has worked against law enforcement, almost like a perfect storm. And so I really didn't pay that much attention to it, although there was a lot more news articles that came out and in the following weeks, et cetera. And well, guess what? They couldn't find her. And I remember thinking, selfishly thinking this, and I feel bad about it now. I remember thinking, damn, I'm glad I'm not the one that caught that case. But I still expect it because I don't have any unsolved ones, y'all. And I still expected that they were going to find her, and they were making an arrest and everything. And that was on May the 2nd, 2008. When she went missing, right? So I'm going to play you another clip from a year later. It's another news interview, and this is with Miss Barbara Blount's daughter.
us this morning. Christy Blount, the daughter of Barbara Blount, the woman you're seeing right there. Christy, thank you for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is it difficult for you and your family to believe that it has been a year?
Yes, a year's a long time, but it really doesn't seem like that. In a sense, if you think about it, it makes it longer because we don't know anything.
Still, we have no idea.
Nothing.
Does it, a lot of times there are pieces of information that come through in a year's time, but we have literally, those phone calls have slowed down and they're just vanished without a trace.
Exactly.
And that's got to be the most difficult part here. Not a single trace, no clue, no anything for a year.
Nothing.
What have the detectives been able to tell you?
Any little piece of information they get, they give us a call, say, hey, we have this, we'll check it out, and it's led to nothing so far.
So they've been very good with you guys, though, the folks out there at Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. Day to day, you and I have talked about this before, day to day is very difficult. Your mother was a very big part of your life for 30 years. You lived down the street from her. You'd see her every single day. So for you, this is a big part of your life now missing.
Yes. You don't know what to do now. Your routine is just completely gone.
The family as a whole taking this day to day, and I mentioned this in the story that we ran last night, you guys are very much living in the now, but certainly holding on to a piece of that past,
yes.
Holding on to it, hoping for the very best. What are you guys hopeful for?
That any information, we'll find her either way. There's going to be some information out there.
You recently got married.
Yes.
This was back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this in the story as well, the face that you didn't see in those photo albums, the pictures, the face of your mother, an incredibly difficult time when it's supposed to be so joyous, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get through that? Is it just one of those, not just day to day, but moment to moment?
Yes.
Strong family.
Very strong. We all stick together.
The house there, that your mother's house, still, actually your brother now is living there.
Mm-hmm.
This family has come together so much after something like this, and I imagine that gives you strength, family and friends.
It does. We all have to stick together no matter what happens.
This is something that you're hopeful obviously has a better resolution, but again, just hoping for any kind of news. If you could talk to anybody out there that may have any kind of information, what would you say to them?
If you know anything or have heard anything or seen it, just contact somebody, let us know so we can have closure.
It's a pretty good word. It's a pretty big word, magic word for a lot of families. Closure. It sure would be nice to have. And you saw there on the screen the prayer vigil for Barbara Blount going to be this Saturday. And again, anyone with a big heart invited to be a part of this. Going to be Saturday, May 2nd, 10 a.m. right there at the Magnolia Baptist Church in Holden. Christy Blount, thank you so very much. Thank you for letting us be a part of this, and hopefully we can get something positive out of it.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you again this morning.
You too.
That was the 1 year anniversary. And of course, I call it murderversary. I kind of hate the word, but it's the truth, because there's no doubt in my mind Miss Barbara Blount was murdered on that day. And I'll get into that later on. But that was the 1 year murderversary. And of course, I saw it. And I'm still with the state police. And I felt horrible for the family. And I felt horrible for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office and the law enforcement professionals that I know that they are. And, it's just one of those things that you never want to have to be a part of. Okay. But sometimes it happens. Well, here's the deal. This went on. Okay. And I'm going to play one more and then I'll fast forward a little bit. So 2 years go by now, and I used to watch the news, y'all, the local news in Baton Rouge, Channel 2 and Channel 9, the CBS and ABC affiliates. Every evening I had them recorded, and I would watch them because I would want to see all the crime stuff going on and who I knew, et cetera. So I'm going to play, I get home 2 years after the fact.
Livingston are still on the case of a woman who disappeared 2 years ago.
58-year-old Barbara Blount vanished from her home in Holden. News 2's Rachel Frost gets answers on how investigators are trying to get leads in this cold case.
Investigators tell me it's been quite a while since they received any leads, but Blount's family holds on to the hope that one day their loved one will return home. Christy Thompson says it feels like yesterday her mom went missing.
Every now and then you look out the door like maybe she's going to walk up. You know, you don't give up hope.
When Barbara Blount first went missing, search teams spent days combing the woods near her home. After several weeks, the searches stopped, but Blount's family continued working with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office.
Every once in a while, we'll get a phone call, an anonymous call or something like that, telling us to go look in a wooded area.
But tips haven't uncovered any clues to the whereabouts of Blount.
We don't know anything more now than basically the day she went missing. What do you do when you don't have anything to go on?
And now leads are coming in less often.
We haven't had any in quite a while. It is frustrating. And this is the thing, too. She was such a nice person, was so well respected in the community.
Investigators say this case will remain open as long as Blount is missing. And Thompson says she won't be able to cope until her questions are answered.
That's what we really need is closure. To find out one way or the other, is she still out there?
Blount's picture and information is on this playing card. Officials from the Department of Corrections are handing out these decks filled with cold cases. Right now, they're only used in state prisons in an effort to uncover new information.
All right, y'all. So that's probably the last one I'll play of that. So every year, basically, let me sum it up for you. On May the 2nd, Miss Barbara's case. Now, by this time, she's been declared legally dead because she's vanished without a trace. But again, I'm going to tell you she was murdered on that day. And I'll get to that in a minute. But every year, I would watch this newscast or a newscast or read the paper about her or read it online. I'm like, damn, and I didn't meet the family yet at this point or anything. And the years would go by. And then Sheriff Willie Graves retired, and Jason Ard, who I told you about earlier, was elected sheriff of Livingston Parish. And, Jason was very instrumental over the years in doing everything from starting the SWAT team, the SRT team, to just all kinds of things. He was a very forward thinker, and like I said, we came up together. So he's elected sheriff, okay? But every year on May 2nd, the murderversary of Miss Barbara happened again. Now, we're going to fast forward, way forward, and I don't have to play you any more news articles but on that stuff. But I'll tell you what was going on with me. I had retired from law enforcement, and went in my own private practice, doing defense consulting work all over the United States. Of course, I had my polygraph business. And every year, I would see Miss Barbara Blount's case on the murderversary. But then I started this podcast, Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And after about 5.5 months or so, I took on Courtney Coco's case, cold case, which was the first time I deviated just from me being an old cop telling stories, right? And I took on that case at the request of Courtney Coco's mama, Miss Stephanie Belgard, and we worked it on the podcast. And I solved it on the podcast and turned it back over to law enforcement. Now, Jason, Sheriff Ard, and I hadn't talked in years. It'd been years. And I mean, I'm doing my thing. They're doing their thing. He grew the sheriff's office exponentially. Where we used to have 8 detectives to cover all cases. Now I think they had over 30-something detectives, and they had specialized divisions and all the stuff that Sheriff Ard did to make it proactive and all the good stuff, right? Well, he heard about my podcast and what we had done in the Courtney Coco's case. And so he had Lori Steele. Well, I think it was Lori Steele, his spokesperson, or maybe it was his chief deputy, Brian Paul Smith, who he and I used to be partners, and we went to the academy together, et cetera. One of them reached out to me and said, hey, the sheriff would like to talk to you about possibility of featuring Miss Barbara's case on your podcast. And so, you know what? We set it up. Now, I tried to give you a little bit of information about Jason or Sheriff Ard, And but I want to play you a recording now. Now, Sheriff took time out of his day. And this case at the time was, I think, 12 years old, Miss Barbara's case. And he took the time out of his day. He drove to the studio where I was recording at the time. And he sat down and gave this very candid interview. And he talks, well, I'll let you listen to it. And I want to tell you what we've done since then. And then we're going to do a call to action, people. And it's time to take this case back to the forefront. But listen to my interview with Sheriff Ard. First time probably we'd been together in 10 years, 11 years or something. And we're going to play it now. My guest is the Honorable Sheriff Jason Ard, who is the Sheriff of Livingston Parish. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Woody.
Hey, thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. Everybody, before we get into the base facts of the case, I want to take a minute and talk to Sheriff Ard. Listeners, I know that when most people think of the sheriffs, or you think of a politician, or you think they may have some law enforcement experience, et cetera. Like, I worked with sheriffs when I was with state police, and I worked with different offices all over the state. And some sheriffs had some law enforcement experience, some were retired troopers, whatever. But I think what makes Sheriff Ard unique is, and now I know his history, is his experience in a law enforcement field, and it's not just a politician. So, Sheriff, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you don't mind, can you tell us about your career? I think the reason I'm doing this is because I know it's unique, and I want the people to understand that you're not just a politician.
I do like that, because I don't like people to know me as a politician.
Right. Well.
Unfortunately, it comes with the job whenever you run for sheriff.
Right.
But I started my career at the sheriff's office in 1993, and fresh out of high school.
Right.
I didn't really know anything. The only reason I was drawn to law enforcement is because before that I was a cadet at the Dillon Springs Police Department as a teenager, and I just fell in love with it. Right. But I went to work at the Livingston Parish Detention Center, and back then it was the parish jail.
Right.
And I worked there for about 3 years, and then not long after that I was actually pulled to go on the street. I worked the street as a road deputy for about 2 years, and I was promoted as the supervisor over the road, and that was going to be in about 97.
Okay.
And worked in that capacity for another 2.5 years, and then was moved into detective division.
Right.
And I think during that time was probably when you probably came on board, I would think, as a road deputy.
Right.
And but I left. Worked on the street for a while, and then I left, went, like I said, with the detectives, and then was in detectives for a couple of years, and was promoted to, I say promoted, I was actually moved into the training division, where I actually took on the role of a training officer as well as the full-time SWAT commander.
Right. In fact, you started this.
I did. Actually, back in 97, when I was a patrol supervisor, we started kind of touring around with trying to start some kind of SWAT team, because we didn't have one. And at the time, we had I can't recall the officer's name right off my head. I hate that I can't recall his name, but there was an officer that was killed. He was a narcotic officer in Baton Rouge doing a search warrant.
Right.
And we were starting to have a lot of search warrants in Livingston, and we just felt like it was time to make a change. And so went to the sheriff at the time, and he allowed me to start doing some research and sent me to training all over, and we created our SWAT team in 97. So I did that for several years, as well as training up until the year of 08. And so that wasn't long after Katrina, which was in 05. I was moved to the courthouse and was made the chief operations.
Right.
And then from 08, I'm sorry, that was in 06. It was right after Hurricane Katrina. I was chief operations. And in 08 is whenever I was promoted to chief deputy.
Right.
And then, of course, in 2011, the sheriff approached me about running for sheriff. He was ready to retire. And in 2012, I was sworn in as sheriff.
Right.
Livingston Parish. So today, as I'm sitting here, I'm finishing up my 28th year at the sheriff's office.
That's amazing.
What I've done my whole life. And
let me say this, Sheriff. to cover it, basically, y'all, he's done everything from jail guard to working the street, answering the calls, dealing with the public on a daily basis, everything that y'all have heard me talk about in past episodes, to detectives and then, supervisor positions. And when you're out doing the training and everything, that's all aspects of training for everybody in law enforcement. That's not just firearms training. It's whatever classes, advanced classes, and people are coming through. He had his hands on it every day. Then getting into the chief operations or before chief deputy, you got into the almost what we call the code and tie side of things, right? And supervising, that really takes your aspects. So you've covered and touched every single aspect of the department before you were sheriff.
Right.
And it's safe to say you're coming up on 30 years that you dedicate your whole life to protecting and servicing the citizens of Livingston Parish.
It is without a doubt.
That's what you do.
That's what life. I do. It's I don't know anything else.
I was fixing to say, if you took that away from you, who would you be, right? You wouldn't. That's who defines you at this point.
Right. And I take it to heart because I truly love my parish. I was born here, raised here, and I truly love Livingston Parish, the community, and I love what I do. I love being a part of the sheriff's office, and I tell my deputies all the time, I'm just a name and a face.
Right.
And the reason I tell them that is because I was in their shoes, and I know what it's like to have boots on the ground. I know it's right to have the vehicle pursuits, the foot pursuits, and having to, stay up all hours of the night and sometimes go 48 hours trying to get a crime solved just because you want to bring closure to that family.
You know what it's like to catch a 30-minute nap on top of your desk.
That's right. That's right. And we take these cases serious because I always say this: our deputies live in Livingston Parish. Their kids go to school in this parish. They have friends. We're so intertwined. We're so connected.
Right.
And when we have these type of crimes, any type of crime, but homicides, and we take them personally because we feel like it's in our backyard.
Right.
And it really is. It's in our backyard.
Right. And I think that's what sets the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office apart. And I've talked about that in the past. It's the people, the family aspect of it is very real, but that shows in y'all's level of professionalism, et cetera. But thank you for that. I just want y'all listeners to understand, if you could go out and find another sheriff in the state of Louisiana that has had his toes in every aspect of the job, I want to meet him because this is the only one that I know. But okay, Sheriff, we're here today about Miss Barbara Blount. Now, I want to talk to her about a second. I started getting calls on Miss Barbara Blount like almost after we dropped our first episode. And I knew a little bit about the case from the news media. I had gone on from the department by that time. But she must have been something really special because everybody that's reached out to me, they're all different people, right? And I don't know that much about her yet, and we're going to get with the family next week, hopefully, and talk with them so we can let them tell about Miss Barbara and what kind of lady she was, et cetera. But there's so much interest in this case from so many different people, and it got to the point where, especially when we started doing the Courtney Coco series, and people were listening to episodes, and they really started blowing out. I was like, "Hey, call your sheriff," and so. But this is unique, and I didn't know that it was actually a term. It's called crowdsourcing, and until we did the Courtney Coco case, and it's not many people have ever taken this venue of reaching outside the normal channels other than Crime Stoppers or whatever, reaching outside the normal channels and using the public and the listeners to help solve crimes. But it's a very real thing, and these people are very passionate about it. And we get people from all over the world. Like on the Coco case, you would think it was their sister, but the angle being that a lot of people, for whatever reason, will come forward and say things anonymous or say things to us that they won't say to law enforcement. Yeah, and which I thought was so crazy. I never would have thought it had been like that. But I'm gonna say this: Sheriff Ard really has opened up, and I'd say red carpet treatment, but he's opened up the doors and let us come in. Full access to the case file, et cetera. And I'm going to tell you this, my preliminary review of the file and meeting with the deputies that sparked something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdowns scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Meeting with the deputies that worked the case, and including Sheriff Ard. And Sheriff, during this time, you weren't just sitting in the office on this case, right? But I went through y'all, and there's not one single thing that I would have done different. In fact, I was amazed by the outside the box thinking that your guys did and you did to go outside the box before this even. And so this is totally different than the Coco case. This is the finest example of law enforcement work that could be done. And so when we're dealing with this case, you remember this is different. We have the access. We have the level of professionalism. There's no negativity, no shadiness or anything. This is strictly just a tough deal. Now, when you have cases, you can have, there's two ends of the spectrum. There can be a case where literally the officer could be on scene and see somebody kill somebody, a smoking gun, and you have all the evidence, video, everything in the world, just a perfect, and then get confessions. I mean, where everything can go absolutely perfect. But then for everything there's an opposite. And I would say Miss Barbara Blount's case is the total opposite. I would call it a ghost case. And I'm going to let the Sheriff talk about it for a minute. But y'all, we got to have it, your help. But this case is just, for lack of a better word, it's bizarre.
It really is.
Sheriff, can you just tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I'm proud to say I don't have very many cases that haunt me. That actually bother me, and sometimes that will keep you up at night.
Sure.
And I know that a lot of the detectives that worked on this case share the same feeling I do, that this case really bothered us. I mean, they all do, but this one was unique, and the fact where you have a lady like Miss Barbara that is very loved by her family. She has she's a Christian lady that's thought very highly. People think very highly of her, and she comes up missing. And there is no crime scene. And when I say that, I mean, even we had the FBI come in. It's the cleanest crime scene I've ever seen. And then things worked against us on this case.
It seemed like everything worked against us.
It was. It was just like
a perfect storm.
Normally, whenever you work in a case, you go from you find the first little bit of evidence, and that leads to another piece of evidence, and then you start to put these pieces of the puzzle together. And we couldn't even find a piece of a puzzle. I mean, it was just very puzzling to everybody. It was what is going on here, and the really unique thing that happened to us was we find Miss Barbara Blount. She's missing. We start looking for her, obviously, looking for whatever we could find. We find her vehicle not far from her home, parked on a road. And by the time we get our crime unit out to where the vehicle is, water has came. Now nature's kicked in, Mother Nature, and we have water rising. And basically we had water inside the vehicle before we can get it hooked onto a wrecker. I mean, it was that crazy. And so we did a lot of searches, and we've DNA samples. I mean, we've done a lot with this case.
Yeah, back it up for a second. I think it was May 2nd, 2008.
Yes.
Miss Barbara Blount lived, and I saw all the photographs at home. I haven't been there yet, but I plan to go there, y'all. This house is a nice house, very well kept. I mean, I was almost like OCD kept. It was so clean.
Yes,
things
clean.
are so neat. And it was during the daytime
during the middle of the day
that she went missing. And just other than a couple items, and I'll get into it on later episodes, it appeared she was doing some type of spring cleaning, and then she's gone. And then I think y'all responded, and a short time later, her vehicle was found on a hunting.
It was a hunt, a hunting lease.
But then, y'all, the weather, they said, just the bottom fell out. 12 inches of rain in a matter of hours, and flash flooding comes through. And they're trying to work even the vehicle at this time, so it can't catch a break, but nothing. And now and we'll get into I'll get into the details on later episodes, but the things that they've done to go outside the box to investigate this case are pretty much just simply genius, on top of what you would do on a regular case, right? But still. I I shouldn't feel bad by using the term. It sounds kind of harsh, but it's a ghost. I mean, it literally.
It really is. It's like I said. I mean, look, we get a lot of tips on Barbara Blount, and I'd say yearly we get tips, and we may get a name or we may get some other information, and you've looked at the file. We follow up on that, and we went to the extreme.
Right. I know.
On reaching out, and that's why we're here in the studio today. Is for that purpose.
Right. And so y'all, Miss Blount's been declared legally dead. By now, and of course, you can't say one way or another if it's a homicide or anything like that because you don't have any evidence. But she's gone. The vehicle's moved, etc. So, but lifers, somebody out there knows something, and if we could call it a crime, then I always say. And Sheriff, I know you know this, there's no such thing as a perfect crime. At some point, somebody's going to mess up along the way, right?
Correct.
But it's been, 12 years, going on 11, 12 years, something like that. And people get older. They mature. You may have heard something back in the day or over the years or whatever and not come forward. And hey, we get that. If you know that there's a killer out there and you don't want to come forward, then I get that. But you can call it in and we'll get into all the details in later episodes, et cetera. But we need y'all's help. Somebody out there knows what happened to Miss Barbara Blount. And we've got to do it lifers. You can pull it together. We did it before. We can do it again. And this family deserves closure.
And that's my only goal. I really want to get this family closure.
Right.
They deserve that, and somebody does. They know what happened.
Absolutely.
And we have to do whatever we can do to reach out. And you said it earlier, and I can't really wrap my finger around it either. But there's people that don't want to talk to law enforcement.
Right.
And a part of me understand that.
Right.
And so that's why I came to you.
Yeah.
And if they'll reach out to you, I mean, let them reach out to you.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I'm okay, whatever. Because again, at the end of the day, I just want to solve this for this family because they deserve this.
That's it. You just gave me goosebumps. I can see the passion in your face, and you're right. And it's not about who solves it; it's about getting it solved.
Getting
right?
it solved.
And so, lifers, you got to appreciate. I appreciate you giving us a chance to reach out and do this. And it's unheard of for law enforcement to reach out to a podcast to help solve a cold case. And I think it's genius because we have such a huge fan base of lifers in this area. And at the end of the day, it's our joint mission to find out what happened to Miss Barbara Blount. All right, so you just heard Sheriff Ard ask me to work Miss Barbara's case on the podcast. Now, I didn't even know crowdsourcing was a thing, but we did it. We did it with Courtney Coco's case. Now David Anthony Burns is doing life in prison in Angola. I'm sure y'all have seen that on Dateline and all that stuff on who killed Courtney Coco. But I also did another cold case out of West Baton Rouge where they said it could never be solved. I took it to you lifers and all you new fans. That's affectionately what I call my listeners. My fans are lifers. I took that case, Mary Porcho's case, and took it to y'all. Remember, we got the detective on the phone saying this case will never be solved unless you got a video of someone doing it or they confess, right? Well, bullshit. I worked it on the podcast. I submitted it out there to the fans. I got all the tips and the leads we needed. And Zach, with one of the West Baton Rouge sheriff's detectives, and worked the case and got it to their district attorney, Tony Clayton. And guess what? They made the arrest. Gerald Pucho pled out to murdering his wife, right? This is a case that said would never be solved, y'all. But we did it on Real Life Real Crime. We did it with y'all calling in the tips and good law enforcement and prosecution backing it up. Well, we're about to do it again, okay? What happened was 3 years ago, whenever it was, Jason gave me that interview. I started recording on Barbara Blount's case. I recorded with Christy, her daughter. Then I recorded with Ricky, her son. Then I recorded with Miss Sarah, who is her twin sister, and her daughter. And we pushed it out. And look, when we started it, we had a lot of success. We had a lot of calls come in. Sheriff Ard brought me in. He gave me the entire case file. All right. And I worked it like I used to work cases. And look, Sheriff Ard was fired up about it. And he wants this case solved bad. And I'll tell you this, and most people don't know it, but he had got his own copy of the case file in like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. He'll text me sometimes. He was like, what about this? Have you read this? I'm like, yep. Or no, or we need to look into this. Meanwhile, I'm getting all the calls from the lifers because I did the series, y'all, on what happened to Barbara Blount. Go back and listen to it. If you're new to the show, it's very important. And so we were working it, and Jason, Sheriff Ard signed a new realm of detectives, if you will, fresh eyes to look on it, and we were going to start having meetings like twice a week on a task force, if you will. And guess what happened? COVID happened and shut everything down. This is like right before the shut-in. Then the shut-in happened, and Sheriff Ard had to redirect all his resources to people working the parish prison, all on their days off. And it was just a bad time. Everybody remembers COVID, right? And it killed us. But after COVID happened, we get back together, we start working it again, and guess what happened? COVID comes back again, and they do the second shutdown. And so it's like every time we gain momentum in Miss Barbara's case, something happened, just like it happened to them on the original day when they're investigating the 12 inches of rain come in and wash away evidence. And it's always been like this. The devil's working so hard for us not to get Miss Barbara Blount's case resolved. Now, we're back, okay? Now, let me tell you what's been going on. Over this past 3 years, I'm to blame. I did not always have the time and the resources to dedicate everything to Miss Barbara that I did to Courtney and Mary Pouchot's case, et cetera. But I'm back, okay? Sheriff Ard and I have talked. He's back. We're ready. We're kicking it off with a new, fresh look, a new, fresh everything. Now, I don't want y'all to think we haven't done stuff on this case, because we haven't. Like, as recently, I think like 3 months ago, I received an anonymous tip or Miss Barbara's body may have been buried, and Sheriff Ard got his people together, and they went out with cadaver dogs and searched the property, and it wasn't true. Well, she wasn't there. But you lifers, all the old lifers, not all you millions of new lifers, all the old lifers have still been calling in tips over time, and every single one of them we've followed up on. We've looked into till we could exclude that idea, or it's still on the table, okay? And Sheriff Ard has been made aware of every one of them. There are a lot of moving parts in this case, and I want to thank everybody who's called in. And look, you're awesome. And you never know which call it's going to be that's going to break the case, okay? And now we have millions of new listeners. We need to solve this case, and we can't do it without y'all. We need you lifers. We need your calls. I don't care if you think you saw something. I don't care if you heard something. I don't care how crazy you think it might be or whatever. Look, you could call me anonymous, and I'm going to give you the tip line. We just set up a brand new tip line just for Miss Barbara. Okay. We had one before Now we're setting up a brand new one, but it's the smallest tip, y'all, that always breaks these cases. And that's just the truth. And so it doesn't matter what your idea is. Look, we've had psychics call in. We've had everything call in. It doesn't matter what you think or what you heard or how small you think it might be or irrelevant, call it in, okay? I mean, it's not irrelevant. You never know what piece of information that someone has that's going to break this case wide open. That it's time, people. 15 years to today, Miss Barbara was murdered. Yeah, I'm saying murdered. No, we don't have a body. No, we don't have a crime scene per se. That no, we don't have the hard physical evidence. Well, guess what? That's okay. Somebody out there knows, and somebody out there is holding on to that one little nugget, because we can't tell you everything that's going on. We can't tell you all the ideas we have. We got ideas, but we can't tell you all the things that have been worked on or now going to be actively worked on again. You might have that one little piece of the puzzle that fits, that brings Miss Barbara home. And that's ultimately what we want to do. Get her home so she can be buried, have a proper Christian burial. She's a very Christian lady, just a real sweetheart of a woman. And if you go back and listen to What Happened to Barbara Blount, the series, you'll hear that. You'll hear everybody talking about her, the family members and everyone else, and how much she was loved. She never got to see her grandchildren, y'all, and she lived for her kids. She was a widower. Her husband had died in a fiery truck explosion, got hit by a train. And she was a widower, and she took care of her family first. So this could be your grandmother. It could be your mom. It could be your sister. Think about that, all right? And if you're holding on to something because you're worried that there's a killer out there, well, yeah, you're right. There is a killer or killers out there. But you can call this tip line anonymous. You can email, text, whatever you want to do. I don't care. A lot of times people will tell me stuff that they won't tell the cops, and I get that for whatever reason. You can do it anonymous. You can, or you can give me your name and say, "Hey, Woody, just don't use my name." I won't use it. I'm not law enforcement anymore. I don't have to abide by their rules, okay? But you damn well better believe I'm going to work with them, and I'm proud to say that I live in Livingston Parish, and I'm proud to say that the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Jason Art are stepping up, going out on a limb, using a podcast and cooperating with a podcast to try to bring Miss Barbara Blount home and get an arrest for her murderers. So it's very, very important. They call in with anything. Know that it's going to be worked. You can remain anonymous, remain anonymous. I don't care. And listen, we've had everything, like I said, from psychics to people that saw stuff we've never stopped working it, y'all. They just had a lot of bad things that happened where it slowed down. But every single tip that y'all have ever given me has been passed on. It's been worked. And again, it's not like we're totally in the dark. We have things that are being worked on and that will never stop being worked on. And we just need some help. We need you lifers to come forward, say what you saw, say what somebody got drunk and told you, say whatever, and you can remain anonymous. Miss Barbara Blount's been murdered 15 years ago today, May the 2nd, 2008. It's time to bring her home. It's time to resolve this. Now, you can reach me at woody@realliferealcrime.com, or the tip line is going to be posted in the show notes, and I'll start saying it on every show that we do, or Real Life Real Crime Daily. And if you're new to the show, y'all, and you go look at the feed, we have two shows on the same feed, the original Real Life Real Crime, which this is, and then RLRC Daily, and it'll have the date and the titles. It's more of a current news show. So What Happened to Barbara Blount, or the original series, go back and listen to it. I'm going to get Sheriff Ard in, and we're going to talk about this case, and maybe we'll take some of y'all's questions. We'll work on that, but we need to do it. We cannot do it without you. And the tip line is going to be posted in all social media and in the show notes. I don't have it in front of me right now, y'all, or I would give it to you on this episode, but we're going to put it out everywhere. Call it in, people. All right? Do not be afraid of these murdering bitches. That's what they are, little bitches. You know, you're going to kill a 58-year-old woman and wouldn't hurt a fly. It's time for these fuckers to go to prison. It's time to bring Miss Barbara home. It's time to make these people pay justice, lifer style. Let's do it. I'm fired up. Let's run with it, okay? And I know in my heart there's no such thing as a perfect crime. These people are not that smart. They're not that smart. They've been lucky, but they've got to get lucky every single day. We've only got to get lucky one time, and that one time is going to be you, whatever life you are out there, that calls in this tip, sends in the information, and we're going to get justice for Barbara Blount. Hearts and prayers go out to the family members. 15 years to the day that she was taken and murdered. It could be any one of your family members. Call it in. Send it in. Let's do this, lifers. It's time. It's the only case that I've never solved. It's time. All right. With that, I'm going to conclude this episode number 1 of season 14, and we're going to call it, I should have said this in the beginning, and we'll call it Barbara Blount's Murder 15 years later. Okay? Again, I'm going to welcome all you new lifers and Patreon and convicts and my subscribers through Apple. I want to say thank y'all. It means a lot. You're going to be getting a new bonus episode locked up. And all you new listeners, we have Patreon. It's Real Life, Real Crime, where you can subscribe. It has a bunch of different tiers with a bunch of different benefits. And then we have the Real Life, Real Crime community app. And y'all, I'm going there every day before I get on all those social media pages. I'm going to Real Life, Real Crime community app. I'm answering everybody that posts in the app. And that is the place where we have everything Real Life, Real Crime, including Real Life, Real Crime Daily. We even have Bloody Angola stuff on there. We have chat groups and forums and feeds and updates on cases and merch store and everything else. Go download the app for free. Trying to get everybody in one spot, so it makes it a lot easier on me. Plus, it's just a lot of cool stuff. But thank y'all. Anyway, in the app, the subscribers are called convicts, and they get the commercial-free early releases and the bonus episodes. Some of my best episodes I've ever done, y'all, are locked up, and there's over 20-something in there. If you subscribe through Apple, that's cool too. We love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Real Life, Real Crime Daily, my other show with my co-host Jim Chapman and Mike Agavino, y'all, it's like Howard Stern of crime back in the day, right? I mean, you never know what's going to be said. All the stories are great. Go listen to it on our feed. The numbers are phenomenal, higher than anything we've ever done. And I love doing that show with Jim and Mike. Also, Bloody Angola. Holy smokes, the jump that show's getting. That's the podcast I do with my co-host Jim Chapman again, who's also my producer for everything that I do. But the Bloody Angola is a story. Basically, it's a story of Louisiana State Penitentiary, and it was considered the bloodiest prison in America. But we do a lot of uplifting stories. There's a lot of horrible stories. I'm talking about prison crime stories. And there's just a lot of different stories. Like our most recent story with C. Murder or Corey Miller.
So you never know what you're going to get on Bloody Angola. And man, we are in the top. We're going up in the charts. We're like number 5 in the world in documentaries and charted in society and culture. So y'all go ahead and check it out. It's different than Real Life Real Crime, but it's a super, super interesting show. Go like and subscribe to that. And we love and appreciate all of y'all. The new tip line will be posted everywhere. So y'all, it's beginning of season 14. Thank you so much. It's awesome. Now next week I'll be back to old cop stories again, the original Real Life Real Crime, but this, what happened or who killed Barbara Blount is what I should say now. I used to call it what happened. Is very, very important to me. I want to solve this case. But anyway, thank y'all. And now, if you're new to the show, I end every show with LOPA, or Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. And we have millions and millions of more followers now. So listen to this. If you want to be an organ donor and you're from Fiji, you don't have to be from Louisiana. You can go to lopa.org, fill out the 2-minute questionnaire thing or donation form, whatever they call it, and become an organ donor and give the gift of life and sight and all the other stuff. LOPA not only helps save lives by getting people organ transplants that they're going to die without, but they're a nonprofit. They also help these families, and that's a new thing that I got from Missy Jewell. Now, y'all go to YouTube, check out Missy Jewell and Shane McBride's new channel where they talk about LOPA, and I was a guest on there last week. I don't know when that episode will air, but they're doing great things. But LOPA is a beautiful organization, and they not only help with the organs procurement, if you will, and transplants and all that, but they help take away disinformation. There's a lot of bad information out there about being organ donors, but they also help these families get through the worst times in their life so their family members can go on and be heroes. So be a hero, sign up to be an organ donor. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, you running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you, 'cause you down on Murder Bayou. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real O'Reilly.
You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.